this is Alessandra. Welcome to my home, welcome to my kitchen. It's a beautiful summer day, some beautiful sarfar in the garden, so I decided to make bruschetta today. Bruschetta is basically a tomato salad cut a little smaller over bread that's been baked to a nice crisp. The first thing I'm going to do, as you can see, I have a rather large cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, and I went to my local bakery and I ended up buying yesterday's bread. You don't want today's bread, the bread that's fresh of the day, because it's kind of hard when they cut it. You want something that's from the day before, and it ends up being cheaper too. And they slice it for me, otherwise you gotta slice it rather thin. And what I do is I place it on the cookie sheet. Now I'm going to mix extra virgin olive oil, just a pinch of salt, okay, some good fresh cracked black pepper, okay, and with the kitchen brush, or even just a regular brush that you could get at the hardware store, but just keep it strictly for use in the kitchen, I am going to spread the oil on top of my bread, okay? If you don't have a kitchen brush, you could do it easily, drizzle it on, but this is definitely the easier way to do it with the kitchen brush. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put my oven on 375, and then we're going to bake these until they're golden. I don't put a timer on, but I will keep an eye on the time. I'm gonna say about 10 minutes and they should be ready. If you step away from usually I'm in the kitchen because now I gotta do the next step of this. But if you step away, then put a timer on, okay? So I'm gonna finish this up in a second, and now I wanna get started explaining about the tomatoes. Look at these beautiful tomatoes. I have these cute little peppers I picked from the garden, the fresh basil. What I normally do with the tomato, if they're not from my garden, I buy them and I let them sit out for a couple days so they ripen just right and all the sweetness comes out of the tomatoes. I prefer a plum tomato because it has less seeds, because when you make the bruschetta you don't want the seeds everywhere and it becomes very watery. So I do prefer a plum, but these beautiful round beefsteak tomato work very well too. Okay, I also have a red onion. Now let me get this in the oven and we'll come back and prepare the bruschetta salad. It's 3:30. Let's get the bruschetta bread in, and I'll time to see how long it takes. The oven is on 375, and let's close it up. Okay. You want a sharp knife. I love these Italian serrated knives, but you have great quality knives here too. But I just like these, they're really easy. Try to, when you cut your tomato, try to make the same size. Now I'm going to do the same with the onion. Take a look at the size of the tomatoes. This is what they need to be. And I'm going to do the same thing with the onion. With the onion, I really rather use a proper cutting knife. Okay. The onions go in. The tomatoes go in. Of course, you want less onion and more tomato. And so I'm gonna finish up the onion, and then cut definitely more tomatoes in. 15 minutes have passed. They look perfect. Okay, let me take them out and show you. Take a look at that. See that? Both top and bottom. Okay, now I want to show you something. Let's move to the front there, and I want to show you what I'm going to do. Take a clove of garlic. Just remove the top piece, okay, where the root would be, just like this. Okay, now take the garlic, pick up a piece of the bread, and since that's nice and crunchy, just scrape the garlic right on top. I know it's a little tedious process, but it's so worth it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, and if the garlic gets too small, just grab a new piece. All right. So now, and once you do that, then they gotta cool down completely, and then we move on to the next step. Okay, the bruschetta bread is ready, the tomato and onions are ready. Let's do the basil. The larger leaves on the outside, the smaller ones in the inside. The reason why I like to do that is because the basil is very delicate. So if you start chopping it away with the knife, it really gets all ruined. You want to keep it nice and green and fresh looking. So you just roll it up, you fold it over in your hand, and with a good scissor or a knife too, just, here you go, you snip, snip, and that's how you are cutting your basil in. Pick these two out of the garden. I'm not sure if they're sweet or hot, but guess what? Doesn't matter. We're putting them in. We'll find out tonight when we eat it to see if this was a hot pepper or a sweet pepper. A little heat doesn't hurt, actually gives it a lot of flavor. Okay, now my addition to the bruschetta is olives. Not a lot of olives, but just a little bit, and it really takes it to another dimension. Okay, so I'm going to chop up the olives, and then we'll put everything together. Olives are chopped and they're going into. Okay, let's move this out of the way, and now we're going to add the extra virgin olive oil. I'm gonna say about 1/4 cup. It all depends on the amount of, I used 1 large red onion. I used 8 plum tomatoes that were fairly large, a bunch of the basil, and I'm gonna add some salt. Now, the salt you probably want to use right before you serve it, because what the salt does, it kind of cooks the tomato and it becomes very mushy. So since we're serving it soon, if not in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Take a look at this. Is this pure summer freshness? Okay, and today we have a special guest star. He's gonna be tasting our bruschetta. Right, Mr. Potts?
Absolutely, it looks delicious.
Okay, let's see. All right, Mr. Potts, you're gonna be tasting it for us? Okay, here we go. Here we go, and it looks absolutely, gonna, you know what, just a little drop more, right, Mr. Potts? A little oil on top, won't hurt. A little fresh basil to decorate, and here goes your Mr. Potts. Go ahead, you do the tasting, and you say if it's delicious or not.
Well, for starters, it's very picturesque, very good start, and I've been watching you make it today, and I can't wait to try it.
Good. Mr. Potts, the word is delicious.
This is delicious.
Good.
It's
all right.
delicious.
Mr. Potts, I gotta tell him to subscribe. Please subscribe if you like what you see. Click the bell button for new notification on new, lot of exciting videos coming up. Glad you could join us. Arrivederci, alla prossima. Buon appetito, ciao.